Well, hello, friends. It is TexAgs Rewind presented by Yeti. Look, I'm in a bad mood, but we're going to be in a good mood because Ethan Jones has got at least one stat to make me smile.
I do. Okay, so our defense played good, at least. We held Tennessee to 332 total yards, their lowest this season, 4.7 yards per play, their lowest of the season, and only 100 passing yards, which is their lowest by 109 yards. So a good defensive performance. The offense just wasn't playing great.
You got a sobering stat for me there?
I do. So in the fourth quarter, so this game, we've had 3 losses. Or this season, we have 3 losses. All have been close in the fourth quarter. They've been within 1 score in the fourth quarter. So in these games, we've averaged 3.3 points in the fourth quarter, while our opponents have averaged 8.3. So we just haven't done good in the fourth quarter in close games this season.
That's a problem. The show today, not a problem. Brandon Leone just randomly showed up. We'll take Brandon Leone on the show anytime he comes. Jamie McCoy has finally been broken down. Not Mr. Optimistic Jamie. We had Jamie Morrison. He's always optimistic because his team is really good. Enjoyed talking to the Aggie volleyball coach and Jonathan Hutton for Outkick the coverage. Awesome stuff as always. You need to check it out. It's the Rewind. Every team on their backup quarterback would struggle, right? Hold on. They would struggle. But I felt that Max was good enough to start, and I still feel he's good enough to start at other places in the SEC, okay? The last couple of weeks make me feel not as confident about that, which makes me then think it is the system. Something about this system that is other teams are out scheming in the second half of games. There is a problem with that. And now it has messed with your quarterback's confidence to where he can't get these throws. He's locked in a little bit too long. You need to simplify things to where he's got 2.5 seconds. Find your guy and move on.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no question. I mean, we can go back and we can go listen to every single recap we did last year. It's the same. It's a rerun. It's like Groundhog Day. You know, I'm waiting for Bill Murray to pop out, you know, with driving his truck around, like going into town doing the same thing over and over. But, you know, Max Johnson, I'll say this, I agreed with you. And, you know, it's the head coaches and the staff's responsibility to have a capable backup quarterback, you know, with all the things available now for recruiting. And we all thought Max was. And maybe he is. And maybe it is the system. I know Max Johnson's good enough to take 55 shots against us in the face when he was at LSU and still hang in there long enough to beat us at the very end, a Mike Elko defense. Yep. So I know Max Johnson has proved that he's tough, that he'll stay in there, that he can make the throws. And so whether it's the system, whether the poor guy, I mean, I've seen a couple of the stats, he's running for his life. I mean, genuinely, our offensive line is just getting baptized the last few weeks.
But when he's not running for his life, because there are plays to be made, he holds on to it.
Yeah,
so it's a both.
It's a both and, right? And so the whole thing is, like, all of us care, man. Like, it's just, it's frustrating and it's disappointing because you know what's there. What's our guy's name? The young guy who's blowing up, Josh Pate. Just a freaking stud. And the little comment that he made is like, this place has every single thing necessary to win. And it's not just, we're not just saying that as Aggies.
To be honest, man, our fans deserve it. We're like the Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions right now. Every Cleveland Brown, you throw them in there. Every Aggie is waiting. We're saying we got the facilities. We got the fan base. We got the stadium. We've got the workout field. We got the indoor field. We've got everything that you could ever possibly need to be good. When I go back to A&M, I'm looking around like, what is this world that we've created? We've got everything that you could need, and these guys don't even understand what we had when we were playing there. It's 5 times better, if not 10 times better. And to your point, we've got to yield some type of results, and we're not doing that. Gosh, I think for the offense, I agree. I like that we aired it out some. Noah made some great catches. I hate that Moose isn't being utilized downfield the same way Noah is. But I'm thinking now, looking back on it, just outside looking in, I think it's more of Jimbo being a governor on Petrino. I think he has safety on still. He's not letting Petrino do his thing. I think back, rest in peace to Ryan Mallett. I think back to those Arkansas days when Petrino was the coach, and I remember him airing it out. It was like, man, this guy has a green light just to get it down the field, and we're not doing that. We need to be, I don't know if we need to mix it up and go hurry up, but we have too many weapons to be as stagnant as we are on offense. I want to strike fear in defenses in the defensive coordinator's mind, and we're not doing that. These guys are just like, oh, well, they're going to try to dink and dunk us. Let's just pressure, and we'll be fine. So we got to figure it out.
Am I allowed to like quote another podcast on a podcast?
Let's
I guess
go.
this isn't a podcast, it's a radio show. One of the biggest things that changed my coaching career was I was actually listening to this podcast on the way in, not the episode of this, but Michael Gervais was our sports psychologist during the 2016 Olympics. And he has a podcast called Finding Mastery. And he talks to high performers just about their craft. Sometimes he talks about experts in their field about high performance. And I don't remember her name, but he had a snowboarder on. And he always asked the question, how do you define mastery? And she said, mastery is mastering the fundamentals of your craft so that you can express who you are through what you do. And for me, I was like, oh man, that's deep.
That is deep.
Like, yeah. And I just started thinking about it more and more. And again, it changed the way that we scout, changed the way that we do a bunch of things. But at the end of the day, like especially snowboarding, I'm an extreme sports guru. Like I grew up skateboarding, I grew up inline skating. Snowboarding is my favorite thing on the planet. And I was just thinking about snowboarding of like everyone can pull a trick, but everyone has their own flair that they add onto it, a grab or something that makes it unique to them. You look at Shaun White and you're like, that's Shaun White doing a 1080 inverted flip. Like, and I was like, man, like, but they all have the fundamentals of being able to do that trick, but add their own flair to it. So the way that we coach is a little bit of like master the fundamentals, these are the 5 things you have to do to be a good passer, but then go express yourself in a way. Like I want you to look different than her, and I want you to look different than the people on the other side of the net because you are an individual. So I think when it comes to systems, everyone has to, and another, again, podcast, I was listening to the same podcast, but another quote that I stole was be you through us. Of like, there's an us that has to happen. Like we have to have a culture that this is Texas A&M volleyball. We have to have a system that this is what we're going to run, but everyone has space to be an individual within that. But these are the non-negotiables that it takes to be a part of this program, whether it be culture or whether it be like the way we do block. Like you have to do it, but our blockers are all good. They all fit into the system, but they all do it slightly different.
Being here in the mid-state, for me, it's just that we saw Josh Heupel and Tennessee win a game where they didn't have to score 30. That's the first time I've seen Heupel do that as a head coach. That's number one. It was I felt like the winner of that game, see if you agree, is a 9-win team.
Yep.
And the loser could be at 7. And this, for Tennessee, this season is representing the floor, the base of what I think Josh Heupel is capable of as head coach. And my co-host Chad Withrow coined that in the preseason. And I agree with him now that we're here, because Milton has been good, not great. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't really taken over the way Hooker did. And they're still finding ways to win some games. And case in point was this past Saturday. I don't know. Clay has said that he felt like it was 2 programs passing in the night. I don't know if that's the case yet, but it was a significant win despite how that game played out for the Vols. And meanwhile, now you're looking at road trips to Ole Miss and, correct me if I'm wrong, LSU.
Yep.
And that's a steep hill now. And now, because you didn't win that game Saturday, the Aggies are thinking, okay, what happens at the end of the year? Because it's not if you lose, it's how you lose in many cases. And coming into a season where there's a lot of pressure and a lot of money for a buyout, I would have said, no, they're not. Jimbo's staying. And I don't know where you come down on that, but there's still a lot of football to be played to determine that. And again, it goes back to, it's not if you lose, it's how you lose. And losing on the road is not a great sign, especially from that game in Knoxville.
All right, Ethan, tell the people what to do with maybe a stat to go out with.
Okay, well, first tell them what to do. Like, I think that's the camera. Like, subscribe, share, tell everyone you know. And then stat, this is going to be a negative stat, but this year against unranked opponents, we've averaged 160.4 rushing yards per game, but against ranked opponents, only 60. So 100 more rushing yards in unranked games than ranked games.
I'm going to punch my face now. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.